take two. I got a question for you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. I got a couple questions for you, maybe more than that. What opens with Joey Campbell, that's the Black JC's execution, being described by Corey? Corey is the young man who rides the pedal bike, who had on Preston's brother's jersey. So he describes this as execution, and he's been hiding out, and he says he can ID Black JC's executioner. And what closes with Pastor Janae preaching at Chosen House, Ash and Preston going their separate ways for now, Black Officer Beck and family sleeping in one bed, and White Boss Breland looking at Ash's file. Did you guess? Did you guess? Shots Fired Season 1, Episode 4, Hour 4, Truth? That's the name of the episode, Hour 4, Truth. So is this like 24? They got different hours, but 24 was 24 hours each episode. But maybe this whole season is going to be 1 hour each. I don't know. But anyway, Shots Fired. This is my review, my recap. Please stick around and hear my thoughts and opinions. If you like to, like, comment, thumbs up, subscribe, share, all of that other good stuff. Okay. So, Ash, did we hear? Oh, the only thing that we saw, I'm going to go through first. I'm going to go through the characters, then I'm see if I missed anything. With Ash, the one thing that we saw is that we didn't see her with her daughter or anything, but she did put a letter in the United States Postal Service, USPS, snail mail for her daughter, because she feels that a handwritten note or a handwritten letter is more personal. And I agree with her 100%. It's way more personal. Quality move, Miss Ash. Quality move. And Preston was all like, there is this new invention called email. And I'm going to tell y'all later what she says to him, because that is the line of the episode. She be coming up with they have some lines for Miss Ash. I think she might be, one of my favorite characters in terms of some of her lines. Chillax, relax yourself, Ladybug. Bella, gosh, why is she always sitting here looking at me and whining and carrying on? Okay, I think she's sitting down now. Okay, so that was Ash. Preston, we didn't see anything with his brother or his father. The main thing that we saw is that because of his youth and his, his youth and his impulsiveness and his inexperience, he gets a little bit of information and he wants to run forth with it. And Ash is like, we need to do some more research. And he runs forth because he's the boss and he's wrong. And then Ash has to clean up his mess. Okay. The Black JC, Joey Campbell, did we learn anything about him? Well, we learned that the young man says that he was executed. In execution, I mean, holding somebody down in the street and shooting them, that's kind of intense. The Corey, he's 17 years old. I didn't know he was 17. I knew he was a young person, but what is that in the industry? But I couldn't tell if he was like a young teen or a young 20 or, an old teen or, an old teen or a young 20. But he's 17 years old. That is very young. So that's why he's on a pedal bike. He should be on a pedal bike. He's a little boy. So he almost gets killed himself, executed basically as well. And he gets saved just in the nick of time. Black Sheriff Beck. He gets some graffiti. His house gets graffitied. His little boy is out in the street in the middle of the night, trying to cape, or literally he is caping. Gate Station. That's the community, where the black people are in Westgate. That's where the houses are. And then the white people are, I don't know. But anyway, Gate Station. I don't know. Okay. Governor Emmons, we learn a little bit more about her. We see that she is, and we already knew, we could tell that she's really in bed with these prison people. But she's not really feeling 100% with it. But she does make a deal where she is using this guy's money, the guy who's opening the private prison in the state. She's using his money for her educational initiative. And she says she ain't know anything about education being bad in the state until Pastor Janae and the little boy, Black JC's little brother, Tell Baby Boy Campbell told her when he said his school was being closed down, he's going to have to go 15 miles away. And, there had to be a better solution. And it seems like what's going on with these schools is very similar to what has happened in Detroit. Betsy DeVos, is that her name? I guess that she has done, a certain number on Michigan, and I guess they're doing it throughout the country, because I heard someone else say on a video, Ashley, that the same thing is going on in Chicago. So, yeah. Commander Breland, who I call White Boss Breland, for some reason, I think that it's the same person, but when he doesn't have on his uniform, for whatever reason, he looks totally different to me. So halfway through the episode, or partway through the episode, when I saw him without his uniform, I'm like, wait, who is that? So, I'm gonna go on, ISBD, the thing where you can look at movies and TV shows. I'm gonna try to do some studying so I can really get some clarity in my head about who these people are. And then Prep School Preston Terry, we already talked about him. Look, I got him on the list twice, just to say to him, try to take some wisdom and some feedback from a woman and from someone who has a little bit more experience than you, but you're learning. Okay, so let's go over my notes. Ash told his ass what to do is what I wrote down. When Biker Jersey Kid says to the officers, that two officers held down Black JC and an older white commander type shot him, Ash tells Preston, well, we have to be patient and keep digging, because Preston gets like type hot. He on fire. He like, oh, this is serious. And she's like, yeah, it's serious, but we have to keep digging. We have to check our witnesses' credibility. She knows the system. She knows how to work the system. And she has to jump in to kind of help smooth things over with their boss when Prep School Preston, just runs forth, even though she told him not to, and she gets in his ass later on. But she smooths things over with the boss. She knows what to say. Oh, yes, we're continuing our investigation on blah, 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 blah. She has the language. She knows, how to handle the situation. And he's like, go ahead and say it, Prep School Preston. Go ahead and say, I told you so. She like, I told you. She getting his ass. You led with your ego. I am the only one who has your back, and you need to have mine. Don't be putting me out here on a limb with my boss, jeopardizing my job. I got Kai to take care of. Okay. We need to find, moving on, we need to find the person on the college who's the drug dealer, who sells drugs on the college. Because even though they say white JC was going to the hood to buy barbecue or weed or both, we still need to, he still had weed in his glove box. They say he was going to buy barbecue, but he had weed in his glove box. So what's up? And you need to request, she says, I'm going to go investigate that. And you, Prep School Preston, need to request the department arrest records for the last 3 months. And this is not just about the JCs, the white JC and the black JC, Jesse Carr and Joey Campbell, but this is about the whole entire department. So, we see Ash at the library at the college. She's watching Brady. Brady is the college drug dealer, and he's doing his weed transaction in the library. He put the weed in the library book. The person put the money in the library book. They do the exchange. She like, oh, that's pretty slick. But I caught you. So they kind of have a little conversation. He says that white JC was not into drugs, and he makes it his business to know who's using drugs or whatever, because that's his business. And he says he doesn't know why the frat boys would go to the hood for weed, because his stuff is the same. And I believe him when he says that. I don't think I think that, he like, it ain't really, if your shit ain't good, your shit ain't good, and the people only come to me because they can't, it's more convenient. It's like the corner store. Sometimes you might go to the corner store and get food because it's right there on the corner, or you might go to 7-Eleven and get something. It's more expensive, the quality is less, but 7-Eleven is open 24 hours, whereas maybe Whole Foods is already closed, so you have to make do. But he doesn't seem to, oh, Bella looking at the squirrel. Look, it's a squirrel over there. I don't know what it has in its mouth, a piece of bread or whatever, and I think it's harassing or teasing my dog. She's looking out the window. She's upset. Ash makes him give her $20 worth of weed. And I'm like, what's up, girl? Is she getting it for herself? What's going on? And then I'm thinking she about to give him $20, but she ends up getting it tested. So we'll come back to that later. And then we see Prep School Preston following up on the assignment that Ash had given him. He's getting the records for the last 3 months for the department. And he tells him, I don't want a photocopy. I don't want a computerized copy. I want a hard copy. And White Boss Breland is like, it's going to take us a week or however long it's going to take them. And Preston is like, you got an hour. And Prep School Preston is like, you got an hour. And White Boss Breland is like, you need to learn how to talk to people. And Prep School Preston is like, are you trying to tell me to stay in my place? And it's kind of like, it's an interesting little dynamic they have going in this show, because I feel that Preston is a little rude and he is a little arrogant. But, sometimes people are. And, and I don't know if the white sheriff boss is just like, look, I'm your elder. You're being rude. And, you need to slow your roll, brother man. Or if he's like, you need to stay in your place, Negro. I'm not sure what's going on. And he says, in Prep School Preston says, it's not a fishing expedition, but it's a federal investigation. And you need to get me the hard copies within an hour. So he's not playing with White Boss Breland. We see Black Officer Beck and his wife. They're sleeping. They're woken up by the home alarm that has been set off by one of the baby boys who is woken up. He sees a shadow going across the window. He puts on his cape. That's right. He puts on his cape. He's caping. And he goes outside to rescue his family. When the dad finally, he wakes up to the alarm going off. What's going on? He's checking, trying to figure out what's going on. He goes outside. He finds baby boy standing there looking at the side of their white house. And on their white house in red letters is painted, graffitied, killer cop. So White Boss Breland shows up. He says, we're going to keep a car outside till this calms down. We take care of our own. Black Officer Beck is like, I don't feel like it. Breland is like, well, what you mean? Black Officer Beck is like, look, I'm on desk duty. I've been dropped by the union. If I'd have shot the graffiti artist, what would have happened to me? Would y'all have had my back then? Because I know anybody in the department would have shot him if they'd have come outside and found him out here. So it's kind of like he not really feeling part of the crew. And later on we see, or maybe right after that, we see Officer Black Beck with his dad. His dad is telling him that your mom and I are taking out a loan against the house to cover your legal fees. And Black Officer Beck is like, oh no, the public defender is fine. And I don't know why he think the public defender is fine. Has he seen the system? I mean, I would hate it's just a jacked up situation. I know he don't want his parents to be put in an awkward situation or whatever, but I think you should take the help. I think you should take all the help you can get, I guess. We don't know if you're evil or not. Okay, so White Sheriff Boss Breland takes Prep School Preston on a ride. He's like, come on, let's go on a ride. So he takes him out on this ride in the cop car. They pull over a white pickup truck. The white pickup truck has a bumper sticker on the back that says, I'm armed, so you won't be dangerous. And it also has a Confederate flag license plate in the front. It's 3 kind of good old boy types in the car. Officer Breland makes them get out. He says he pulled them over for a seatbelt violation. They like, oh, you could see all of that. He like, shut up. And then he tells Prep School Prep to pat him down. Prep School Prep is like, Preston is like patting him down, but kind of like confused by the whole situation. The people are very hostile to him by the time he gets to the third person. The third person is like, don't touch me. Now, he didn't say nigger, but we kind of get the feeling that, that's what he might want to say. And White Officer Breland is like, shut up, let him pat you down. And then he's like, you got any weapons in the car? White Officer Breland asks him, and they're like, yeah. And the the license is in the glove box, and White Officer Breland goes and gets the gun and the license, and then he looks over the license, and he might have asked him some smart ass question, I don't know. Then he shows the license to Prep School Preston, and he's like, does this look okay? And Prep School Preston is like, yeah. He don't know what the license is supposed to look like. And then, they give them they stuff back, and the people get in their car and go off, their white pickup truck, and they drive on off. And Prep School Preston is like to White Officer Breland, like, what kind of games are you playing? And White Officer Breland is like, how do you know that tight, awful feeling that you had in your throat? Let me see what he says. That scared, angry tightness in the chest that you felt, that's what my deputies feel daily at the houses, policing people who hate them. And then Prep School Preston is like, well, shit, maybe if they stop killing innocent people, they wouldn't have to be feeling that way. And then White Officer Breland is like, is that your personal or professional opinion? Be careful about making accusations that you can't back up. And then Prep School Preston is like, is that your personal or professional advice? So they got a little tension going on there. The next thing we see, or the next thing that I have written down, is there's a Gate Station town hall meeting, and it's mostly white folks there, and it's about the Emmons Educational Initiative. So Emmons is the governor. She is running against, I forget the name of the guy, but the guy from the last episode who made the commercial with White JC's mama, he is running for mayor against her. So I figured that out in this episode. Oh, that's a big old dog walking down the street. So there's this, it's a town hall meeting. It's a black woman reporter. I don't know who she is, but she seems a little bit on the hostile side toward Governor Emmons, or toward her initiative. And the initiative seems like it's like pro black and brown people. So I don't know why she's so hostile, but I don't know. I don't know the context. I don't know the history, but I know hostility when I see it, I think, right? So we see Mama Campbell and Baby Boy Campbell arriving at this town hall, and Baby Boy is nervous, and Mama tells him, just speak your truth. The governor is talking, blah, 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 blah. And thank you, Pastor Janae and Baby Boy Campbell, for bringing this problem to my attention. I'm investing $3 million in Westgate. That's the school that the little black boy, Baby Boy Campbell, goes to, that was being closed down. She's investing $3 million in Westgate, plus 4 schools throughout the state, to bring up the accreditation for renovation and training. And as she's speaking, blah, 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 Baby Boy Campbell is noticing all of the white faces on the wall. It's like, it ain't no, like, I guess the alumni, the student of the month, all of the faces that he sees around him on the wall are white. And it turns out that, so he's noticing that, giving kids from the houses. Oh, so she says that while they're doing the renovation, she's going to give the kids from the houses, that's the Westgate kids where Baby Boy Campbell goes, the option of coming to this white school, Lorton. And it's not just to the 15-mile away Jackson High. So before, he was told, look, your school is going, you got to go 15 miles away to Jackson High. But now they have the option of going to Jackson High or going to Lorton. I'm thinking that Jackson High must be the next black school. So they're going to bypass a white school and send the black children to a black school. And the interviewer is like, are you talking about busing? And it's kind of like, I guess we've been so brainwashed that it's like busing is like some profane word. It's like profanity, like, oh no, not busing, but and then the governor is like, yeah, well, we're gonna give the kids an option, or give their families an option, and they won't notice the price or something, she says. And then the reporter is like, well, I bet you they'll notice the price or the difference in their pocketbooks, in their money. And then Governor Emmons is like, well, actually, it won't cost them any money. It's privately funded by Arlen Cox and Cox Group Financial. That's the prison guy. And then the black woman interviewer and Pastor Janae look disturbed. The white parents, it seems like it's mostly white people at this town hall, but they're arguing about the black kids for the most part, or there's more of the consensus is that these black kids are dangerous. They're drug dealers. We're going to have metal detectors. The reason their school closed down is because they ain't shit. There is, I think, one guy, maybe two guys who gets up and says, well, if it's 45 kids in a class with one teacher, they don't have a chance. And you can't assume that just because somebody is black that, they have an issue, that they're going to be a problem. That's racist. So, they're, kind of arguing back and forth. And then somebody challenges the governor to put her daughter in a school near the houses. Since you want to bring these children over to our schools, bring your child over to their schools, there. You see that? And, it reminds me when I used to work in public schools in New York, I noticed that a lot of the people who were administrators in particular, their children did not go to public schools, were not going to public schools. And it seemed kind of like hypocritical to me. Like it was good enough for our kids, the black and brown kids, but a lot of these administrators that I encountered were not black and brown. Or like one woman, she was like Italian or Latina, but she was like very white. Her child went to private school. So it's kind of like, it's hypocritical to me. So I kind of felt like, it was a good point. And then later on, we see the governor with Arlen Cox and his attorney. And he's saying, in the polls, you're up with the blacks and with the college educated whites, but you're down with your white blue collar base. They're favoring your opponent, Penn Motor. That's the guy who did the commercial with the white JC's mama. And they go on to talk about the deal that they had for the prison, that they're going to be employing only people from North Carolina. And he mentions 3 or 4 categories of employees that I didn't get down, and that half of the money from the prisoner phone cards will go to the state. You see all of this profiteering off of the people. This is like state mandated, state complicit ongoing enslavement of black folks, black and brown folks. Because most of the people in these prisons are going to be black and brown folks. It's some bull. And then there'll be 400 full-time employees. And he says, Arlen Cox says, I just have one little adjustment that I'd like to make. And it does sound relatively little. He wants the prisoner occupancy requirement to go from 85% up to 88%, which, 3%, I don't really know what that means in hard numbers, but it doesn't really sound, like if you already at 85, that's pretty high. 85 to 88. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a big deal to me. But when you start thinking about lives and people, every percentage, every requirement that somebody be in jail, you understand this? It's a requirement that somebody be in jail. As the governor, I'm requiring that 85% of these beds are filled with people, whether there's crime, quote unquote, crime or not.